and boom goes the dynamite. I'm going to unmute myself. Cooper Perkins, here we go. I'm back. Cooper Perkins, can you see me?
I can, buddy. I don't know why you can't see me here.
Hey, we'll roll with it for now unless you want to log back off and log back in, but I can roll with this if you can.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. Cooper Perkins, you can hear him. I swear to God, he's there. At least as far, I'm 98% sure. No. Cooper, thanks for joining us once again. The winning smile will not be there, but you are here in spirit, and that's what counts. This past weekend, the Seals beat the Calgary Roughnecks in a Western Conference showdown, if you will, and it wasn't very close. So I want to get your take. I know you had a game to call, but tell me what you saw looking back at it now and letting a few days serenade and marinate on your mind. What happened? How did the Seals pull this off so easily?
Well, I think that their game plan was brilliant. I was a little bit skeptical going in, having had some conversations with people and listening to what their focus was. But when it all came to fruition during the game, cutting off the Calgary transition and making them really have to work for everything 5-on-5, really put a huge wrench into, I think, what the Roughnecks wanted to do and were comfortable doing. And because of that, they were able to kind of put Calgary in some situations that were more difficult than they were prepared for in that day. And you have to remember, right, the Roughnecks were playing without Tyler Pace, who's their number 2 guy and their most valuable right-handed player. So to say that the Seals just beat them straight up and dominated, I don't think is fair. I think we've seen 3 matchups between those 2 teams. One where Calgary didn't play very well, one where San Diego didn't play very well, and one where Calgary wasn't at its full complement. So I think it's an important win, obviously, because of the standings and the tiebreaker and all of that. But I don't know if it tells us anything all that important going forward into the postseason when these teams could potentially meet again, either in the first round or potentially for a conference championship.
Yeah, first round might be that'd be a tough one for the Seals. You're the 1 seed. Your gift is a date with the Calgary Roughnecks. You've told us, though, I believe last time you were on the show, maybe 2 times ago, that San Diego, the backloaded schedule was going to help them out, and I would say that's done a little bit of a trick, right?
I think you're right, and I think the conversations that I've had support that idea, that especially that back-to-back they had 2 weeks ago, where they had to go to Panther City and then come back and play Buffalo. That was a kind of an opportunity for some team bonding that they don't get otherwise. And different organizations put different amounts of emphases on team building. And I don't think the Seals are going to lead the league in team building exercises. They're a very business first, lacrosse first organization. And so having the opportunity to organically do some of that team building on the road and playing a couple of weeks consecutively, playing 2 games in a weekend, goes a long way towards developing the chemistry that you want to see out of a winning team that is serious about making a playoff run. So I think you're right. I think the couple of consecutive weeks and this backloaded schedule is starting to do the trick for them. The big question mark and the big key for them is just going to be staying healthy, right? Like Cameron Holding going down with a wrist injury is a blow, but they've been able to function without him, and he should be coming back pretty soon. Outside of that, they've been very, very fortunate with their injury luck, and they needed to stay that way for another 4 weeks if they're going to, put themselves in position to not just be the 1 seed, but make a run at the NLL finals.
But you want to march to May. You don't want to limp there.
Exactly.
I know some guys can't help it, but it's what sports. So I want to get to one more aspect of this because I've touched on this, and I think it's fair because the Seals did this against the Rush. They flew privates. I'm not sure if Calgary did that. My guess would be, since it came out so flat, the answer would be no. How much of this game do you think Calgary can blame on jet lag? I call it, it's not an excuse, but like 5% of the game, I could see, we had some jet lag.
I don't know if that's all that significant in general. Just because you got to remember that, we don't talk about it a lot in like the broadcast setting because it's not something that the league loves to emphasize necessarily. But like these are guys that all, for the most part, work full-time jobs.
Yep.
So jet lag is just one small piece of the equation. It's far more likely that someone's having a tough week at work than it is they're tired from a 2-hour flight. And, Dane Dobie made a really good comment on the Back of the Bird podcast like a week or 2 ago, where part of his decision-making process of going from, Calgary to San Diego was, if I got to spend an extra 2 hours on a plane to have, so much better of a quality of life, then I'll take the 2 hours in the plane. I think that that's a kind of, a common thing among these guys that, no one loves the travel, no one loves the flying, but I don't think it's all that big of a contributor, especially in a situation where like Calgary wasn't playing a back-to-back. It's just a kind of an average travel week, and does San Diego have a little bit of an advantage being able to fly private a couple times a year? Yes, they do. How significant of an advantage is it? I don't know. I mean, it's all about how you like to spend your day, right? Because if you fly private, you're going to get home at like 3 a.m, and then you get an opportunity to sleep in your own bed. Or if you don't, you fly commercial, you sleep in a hotel room, and then you get up and you fly back at 8 or 9 a.m. It's half a dozen to one, 6 to the other to me. It's totally a preference thing. I don't know. I think it's more a fun thing for guys getting to do that than it is actually a competitive advantage. It's not something that I can imagine really making that much of a difference, but maybe I'm wrong. You never know. There are always things that go into the alchemy of winning that are hard to put a finger on, and maybe that's one of them. Who knows?
I'd like to poke the bear or poke the seal, if you will. I had to do that as a Closet Rush fan on the show. But you can make a good point there about the, does it really matter if the guys have these jobs? Like, that's probably, like you said, a lot more impactful, which is sad, but that's what we're trying to do, is expose them more. So I got to talk to you about this game against Vegas. In Vegas, it's a rematch. I know that the Desert Dogs are probably not without Charlie Bertrand, who was pretty big in the first game, but now you get to go to Las Vegas and see what they look like. Can we get a rivalry brewing here? Is Vegas going to beat them, or how are we looking?
I think Vegas is still sneaky good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big question is how San Diego's goaltending holds up, because that's kind of been the question throughout the season. When it's been good, they've been great. When it's been not so good, they've struggled. I don't know. I think we're kind of hitting that point in the season where the Vegas Magic is starting to run out of gas a little bit. That loss to Colorado really was a big shot to them. And, they're still technically alive for the postseason, but it's a pretty significant uphill climb. I wouldn't be picking against San Diego right now, just the way they're playing. But then again, Ty Merrill and I had a little exchange about this on Twitter this week. Every time we think we know what's going on, the more we learn, the less we know about the NLL. So it would be fitting if, you go and you beat up on Calgary, you have a big, huge win to take first place in the season series, and then you go lay an egg against Las Vegas. I mean, it is their first time going to Vegas to play the Desert Dogs. And, having gone out there and done the Vegas thing at Michelob Ultra, it's a really fun, different environment. I don't think that they're going to have any problems. They're a group of vets and professionals. But it's one different piece of the equation. It's an unfamiliar setting with a lot of these arenas and hotels. There's a lot of familiarity that's built. It's a new one for them, so they'll have to adjust a little bit. But, there's a reason why they're in first place. There's a reason why they're, very realistically could finish the season with 14 or 15 wins if they close strong. And I would expect that to continue this weekend.
You hear that, Dane Dobie? If you get down, don't get down too much in Vegas. But Cooper Perkins, thank you so much. I know we couldn't see you. I'm not going to smile for you, but I know it's there. Thank you so much for coming on the show once again. You are great, as always, and we look forward to your road call this weekend for the Seals and the Desert Dogs.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that road call is going to consist of me sitting in front of the TV with a beer, I think.
Oh, fair enough. There you go. Go Seals, maybe.
All right, Mike. Thanks so much, buddy. You
Thanks.
Take care.
Yes, you too. Cooper Perkins, everybody. I'm telling you, he was fun. He's always a great guest. And I learned some things about the private jet. I've never been on private jet. I wouldn't know. I just like to talk. But speaking of awesome home stadiums, one of them is in Fort Worth, Texas. And Maggie Hale, the Panther City reporter, will be joining us next to talk about how we can fill more seats and how the team almost got away with murder against Albany. We'll be right back to Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere. that's not good. Our last brew presented by B-Res Coffee Company. It's Maggie Hale of Panther City, aka Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes.
Purple Kitty Cats. How are you, Maggie? Welcome back to the show.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And I know you've got to feel a little sense of relief being so close to the team. And I'm telling you, Albany came in there and punched them early, and Panther City was able to get the win. Were they able to overcome the slower start and hold off a pesky little Albany team?
Yeah, I talked about this a lot, or in the broadcast, we talked about this a ton during the game, that Panther City really is a second half team. And I mean, they have the stats to back it up every single time after halftime. I don't know what TK says to them in the locker room, but they come back out, and I mean, sometimes it just looks like a completely different team.
Hey, that's awesome. What do you think happened in the second half, game wise? I'm not the X's and O's guy. You guys are professionals. What do you think happened? You seem like maybe an inspirational speech, but was there more physicality? What did you see personally?
Yeah, I think we saw a lot more of just like transition defense and transition offense. Josh Medeiros being a huge part of that. And I think we see a lot of the crowd just getting excited, especially. I mean, we've kind of come to expect that anytime Josh Medeiros has the ball in his stick, that it's going to end in some point somehow. So I think that's really exciting just for everyone to see. And then, they talk a lot about how it's just exciting to see guys who don't always score, even though now we're kind of assuming Josh Medeiros will, but like even Tony
Right.
Malcolm getting in some points there, it just kind of gets the other guys excited. So I think it was a lot of maybe some guys scoring who don't necessarily, some bigger plays. And then obviously both the Malcolm brothers had great games.
It's nice. Well, we have a Super Malcolm Bros movie coming out. Who knows?
Yes, definitely.
I've heard Mario's good, by the way. I have a question for you. How important is it for you? Because the attendance numbers, we've had them on the show around the 2,300 mark every week, it seems like. It's such a pretty stadium. The team is really good in year two. How important is it for them to keep this momentum going for more fans to fill the stadium?
Oh, I think it's definitely important. I mean, everyone likes to watch winners, but I think it's especially important about how Panther City performs. They're not just escaping by in most of these wins. They're entertaining. I mean, there might be some fights going on. They've got some bigger guys this season. Even Liam Patton stepping up. Like, that was an impressive fight, even though that game ended in a loss. The entire crowd was into that game the whole time. So I think just the way that they perform and kind of how you see just everyone getting goals, everyone making plays. I think it's just so entertaining for everyone to watch that even if it doesn't end in a win, it might be okay because just how the game ended up going.
Yeah, most definitely. You got Callum Crawford, who's awesome, one of the NLL GOATs, if you will.
Yeah.
And I know you have your ear to the ground more than I do because I'm not in Texas, obviously. And have you felt the growing momentum as the team gets better? Are you seeing more people talk about it, or is that kind of something the team has to do to say, hey, this team's playing tonight? Come on now.
I think that a lot of people have started buying into this team, especially because of the winning. I know I personally go to TCU, and I've been seeing a lot more TCU fans. They do a ton just to get TCU kids involved as well, which is a big factor for that team, just to get a lot of that frat boy energy going over in that stadium. That's definitely what they want. But they do a lot of like the guys that live here handing out tickets. They do a lot of visiting. Last week before their lacrosse out cancer game, the lacrosse out cancer night, they went to go to the children's hospital. So there were a lot of people from the children's hospital there. So I think they do a really good job of getting people in the community involved. And I think they do a good job of buying into what Fort Worth is about, having like Texas Forever night. That was super fun just to get everyone there in boots was so easy to do. So I think they do a lot of getting everyone involved.
You mentioned you went to TCU, and I know this is a lacrosse show primarily, but we haven't talked to you since before TCU. I think had two good. Well, we had the college football thing happen. I know it was a bad loss. Go Georgia. Then there was TCU in the tournament. I mean, you guys had a pretty fun time, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I mean, a lot of people might not know this, but we're actually men's tennis world champs 2 times in a row, too. So we are an everything school. Let's just say that.
That's right. Hey, Horned Frogs, that's one of the greatest mascots, low key. I love that.
Absolutely. There's a lot you can do with that mascot.
I love it. And Texas Forever Night was cool. Seeing those jerseys for Panther City was awesome too. One more thing I'll get to is there's a game this weekend for, of course, Panther City. They play Calgary, same team that just played the Seals of the last guest we talked about. What do you think is the key? I mean, that's a trip, and that stadium is gross and is ugly. It is not fun, I'm sure, to be in if you're an opposing team. How can Panther City pull off the upsets?
I think a lot of it has to do with having Nick Damoud stand up there and perform. I think he's the big key to a lot of Panther City's wins. I think we saw that a lot in the San Diego loss when he was maybe having an off night. They were switching around the goalies. And that wasn't, I don't think personally necessarily due to Nick or Cam's performance. I think that was just San Diego's a great team. Everyone knows they're stacked with offensive talent. But, the team performs a lot better when Nick is performing as well. So I think that's a major key for them. And then also, obviously, getting Will Malcolm involved is definitely a big thing for the team. But it's also important to look at just that whole offense, how anytime one of those guys has the balls in their stick, something's going to happen. All of those guys are very capable. So even if someone on the offense is having an off night, they have those guys that can step into those roles and just fill in. So I think that's really important as to why we're seeing Panther City succeed, because it's not just one guy on that offense.
Right.
It's not all on Will's shoulders. If he wants it to be that night, it can be, but they really do a good job of trading around and just everyone gets involved.
I love it. It's like the Golden State Warriors in the NBA. Maybe not quite there yet, but we're getting there.
Definitely.
Maggie, I appreciate all the work you do. And once again, for promoting Panther City and TCU Loki on the show. Thanks so much for joining us. And we can hear you all the way through. That was great.
Perfect. I love it.
Thank you so much, Maggie Hale. And we will definitely see you around. Thanks for coming on Daily Dive.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The awesome Maggie Hale of Panther City and TCU. That was fun. We had two awesome guests on the show. I'm going to give a shout out to both of them because, as you know, they hold it down more than I can ever do. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We have one more day this week. It's tomorrow. That would be Friday if you do the math correctly. I'm no mathematician. I'm no like Mayan calendar guy either, but you get it. Thanks so much for tuning in to Daily Dive, everybody. This has been fun. For awesome guests like Cooper Perkins, even though we couldn't see him, that was not his fault. Maggie Hale, our wonderful host Renee Washington, everybody that contributes to this. Thank you so much for watching Daily Dive. We'll see you tomorrow, and yeah, have a great rest of your day. Bye.